Hello there everyone, this is Fantadusi and today I'm going to be doing part 2 of What If Belle Was Betrayed. And this is going to be right after the last part where I left it off, so let's get started with the What If. Belle, what are you? Asked Goddess Freya. As Belle looked at her and his eyes started glowing blue from their normal pale blue. But then Freya blinked and Belle was right in front of her as he said, "This I am this world's greatest enemy or ally. If you guys do the right things, I am whatever you guys think I am." Where then the whole room saw the shadow of a demon again. Then Freya put up her hands and said, "I don't need anyone dying today," spoke Freya. But then Belle's eyes closed and he just sat down on one of the tavern's chairs as Yamato then disappeared from Belle's hand. As Belle said, "I miss something important. Why did you bring me to this tavern that you own? And what exactly do you want from me?" We all know Freya's Sierra just in a different form to hide her powers. Freya then looked at Belle with a confused look as she spoke. "First, how do you know I own this tavern?" That was simple. Look at everyone here. When I was in front of you, everyone got up and started doing hand motions for weapons. Now put both of those together with the idea of you being Freya. But now, what do you want with me, Freya? What do you want with me, Freya? Demanded Belle, as Freya saw a serious look on Belle and said, "I brought you here to keep an eye on you, and because I really did want to help you, Belle. You don't deserve to be abandoned for just being weak." How interesting. I actually found a trustworthy god. But what do you want with me, really? What I want, Belle Cornell, is for you to join my familia. As Belle looked at her and just stared as his once plain face changed into a smile. "Well, I'll join the familia just because you're my friend, Sierra or Goddess Freya." Yes, it's that simple. I know I said that Belle is cold-hearted like Virgil was, but he's also kind-hearted still. If you if you do the right moves, he's still kind-hearted. As Freya was really happy to finally get Belle, but only show a small smile. Where then Belle shaked hands with Freya as his status were now under under the goddess Freya. "So where exactly do we go now that I'm a part of your family?" "Well, Belle, you are going to first fight one of my members before I take you to the familia." As Belle spoke, "Well, fine by me." Then Freya said, "You also need a haircut really badly because you look really bad." Alright, let me give you a physical image of how Belle looks like. Imagine Belle's normal hair in the picture that you see in front, but up to his shoulders. Basically, his instead of his haircut being the same as in the anime, his all of his hair is up to his shoulders, meaning his whole meaning talking right now, Freya being able to see Belle's eyes is just because his eyes are glowing through his hair. Then Belle looked closely and saw he was just staring through his hair and asked, "Where exactly do I even go to get a haircut today?" "Somewhere, just fix your hair, Belle Cornell." Where she gives Belle the annoyed mother look towards him. As Belle saw the look and went back to his old self and said, "Yes, ma'am, I'll go take a haircut." Scared of Freya, who now went back to her Sierra form, as she said, "Good, so let's go now. I have money to get you stuff that you need before you go into the dungeon." As Belle said, "Let's go out now." As she put her arm around, as then Freya put her arm around Belle and pulled them out of the tavern. As they left towards the shops, Belle was pretty annoyed, but was happy for some reason, but wondered why this is happening. As Belle looked and saw he was dragged into a hairstylist and was set down by force by Sierra. As a couple of hours later, Bell got his haircut, and for that, Bell was now fully looking like a copy of Virgil, as Sierra was blushing from Bell's new look. As he said, "It feels good not having all that hair on my eyes. Thanks for bringing me here, Sierra." As she looked the other way and said, "You're welcome, Bell. Now, do you want to look at armor for you to go into the dungeon?" Where Bell then nodded no. "I'm fine. I have this." As he snapped, and Virgil's clothed from the video game appeared on him. Bell looked at her and saw the shocked look on her face. Then Bell smiled and said, "Let's get going, Sierra, before anyone in the tavern thinks I did something to you." As she nodded yes and left the hairstylist, but after a couple of minutes of dragging and walking, Bell was being dragged because he kinda regretted following Sierra to the hairstylist. They got he kinda regretted it. They got to the tavern and sat down. Then out of nowhere everybody in everybody from the Familia, of Freya's Familia, was there. Yes, a whole full-blown meeting of Freya's Familia was happening right there. All the members of the Freya Familia was, give me a minute, I don't really know their names that well, were there. Bell stared at all of them. Bell stared at all of them. And then started thinking, so this is the entire Familia that I need to know about. As all of them stared at Bell and started whispering among each other as they said, "So you're the Bell that Goddess Freya is so obsessed over." As Freya gave them all a death glare as they all went quiet, and Bell was like, "Huh? Obsessing over who?" As they said, "Nothing." Then Freya said, "Bell, meet Otter, the Avengers aide and captain, and it's the captain executive rank of my Familia, and he's a level 7. Alan is also an Avenger and vice captain, level 6. And then I'm not gonna mention the other people, but during the more as the series keeps going on, as the what if keeps going on from the episodes, I'll mention more of them." As Bell then said, "So nice to meet all of you. I'm Bell Cornell, or otherwise known as the Weak One, as many of you guys are probably thinking in your head." As Bell then looked at all of them, and they just went quiet because they didn't think he would know what they're thinking of. As Bell said, "I know what you guys are thinking of. You're saying, why did your goddess choose a weakling like me to join the Familia?" Bell then spoke again. "Well, I'm only in this Familia because she helped me, and I just did her a favor by joining it." As out of nowhere, Mark from the Hestia Familia, which now over the months of Bell being missing, Mark managed to get the Hestia Familia to be top 3 in the rankings of gods. And this was being under the watch of the first god to ever come to the planet. Yes, that god has a freaking ranking system now. So then Bell looked at Mark, and Mark looked at Bell, and he said, Goddess Freya," as he started flirting with her, and then Bell just summoned his sword and nudged him on the stomach, which then sent him flying. But he landed, and then Mark said, "What the hell are you doing?" As Bell then said, "Man, you're too close to her, buddy. Stay away." As Mark then summoned his weapons, or took them out of his backpack that he had on him from being on the dungeon, and rushed at Bell. But then Bell said, "I don't want to do this." As Bell then just swing 2 fingers up, and his blade just made a shield for him. As Bell then said, "I really hated using this technique when I was still alive in my other dimension." As Mark heard this and said, "What do you mean alive in another dimension?" Nothing you should worry about. As Bell put the sheath back on the blade, and the blade just whacked Mark on the head and sent him flying towards a wall. As Belden said, "Oh, you're not destroying that wall." As Belden pinched two fingers together, and his blade caught Mark before he got to destroy the wall. As Belden said, "Huh, good, I'm fine now." Well, as you guys saw, I'm not weak. I just have magic abilities that I don't know about yet. And yes, I added that ability for Bell since I know that Virgil really did have that blade on him almost every time because it was the key to another dimension. I played the game, so I'm just gonna add that ability that Bell can control the blade with his fingers and however he wants. That's all I'm gonna say. As Otter, the captain or the executive, looked at Bell and said, "So you are the newcomer. Welcome to the familiar. But I would like to test your ability. Sword fighting only. And can you please next time not knock out poor civilian?" As Mark was awake and said, "I'm not a civilian. I'm a level 4 adventurer." As Mark then said, "Funny, I'm level 7." Then Freya said, I don't remember what level I gave Bell, so I apologize if I say this wrong level." As Bell then looked at him and said, "I'm level." God, Freya, what level am I? Since you saw my back. As Freya then said, Bell, I don't think I should say it. Then when Mark heard Bell, he was like, "Wait, you're Bell? I thought you died." As Bell said, "Shut it," and just whacked him on the head again with his blade. With the blade that he just pulled out of his, that it came out of his pocket I mentioned by swinging his fingers. As Belden said, "You can say it. Bell's a level 7. Bell's a level 8. No, Bell's a level 7, but if he were to go train more in the dungeon, he would be a level 9 by now." As all of the familiar members looked at Bell and said, "What the hell are you?" As Belden said, "I am a human." As Belden said under his breath, "I'm also a demon." But they didn't hear that. As Otter looked at Bell and said, "Oh yeah, let's go to the back. I want to fight you." As Belden said, "Swords or magic?" Then Otter said, "Swords." As Goddess Freya then said, "Well, let's go." As everyone followed Goddess Freya to the back, and Bell and Otter were there. Otter summoned his sword. We all know that Otter. I think we didn't see him in the anime, but as a picture, if you read the manga or not, he's really tall for a person. I think his race is I think his race is close to Mamma Mia's race, but bigger on it, but a greater one. As Belden saw two giant axes being pulled out of Otter's thing, and he said, "Okay, Yamato." As a blade appeared in his hand, and Belden took the sheath on him, got into his fighting position. As Otter then did two wings, Otter then used magic on his blades and sent slashes at Bell. And Bell then said, "All right." As he threw the blade in the air and then started moving towards the magic attacks. But before they could do anything to Bell, Bell dodged all of them. Somehow moving so fast that the blades seemed to be going through him. As Otter then said, "How are they going through you?" As Bell said, "Oh, I'm just moving." As Otter could see Bell walking regularly, but in Bell's point of view, Bell was going at his fullest speed, meaning nobody in this world that he's in could see him move. If you're not a high-ranking god like Freya or the first god that ever came to the planet Earth, you wouldn't be able to see Bell move. As Freya was confused at how Bell was able to move this fast. As Bell then looked at Otter, who he was already in front of, he said, "My blade is about to hit the floor now, so I gotta knock you out, bro." As Bell then put one finger up and hit him and lightly tapped him on the stomach. The moment Bell's finger came to contact, he sent Otter flying into a brick wall. As Bell then said, I overdid it. As Otter then came out of the brick wall and went straight at Bell. As Bell then said, 1, 2, 3. as his blade landed on his hand, and Bell just said, "Oh, okay, sorry about this," as he swings his blade once towards the floor, and a crack appeared. And then Bell put the sheath back on the blade, and the crack closed, making Otter be stuck in the ground. As Bell then said, "Do you give up?" As Otter then said, "I give up. I can't get out of the floor." As Bell then summoned Yamato and tapped the floor 2 times, and it opened again, letting him out. As Bell then said, "Huh, that's interesting." And to say this like again to you guys, Bell is still gonna have his fire magic, just that it's gonna be a bit more stronger since he's Virgil and he's my favorite video game character right now. No, not right now. I've always been. I'm gonna make him have pyrokinesis, I think it's called. Yeah, he's able to control the fire and make it whenever he wants. As Bell, as Bell then looked at Otter and said, "Oh, okay, so you give up. That's great. Now let's get a move on." As Bell then got him up from the floor and sat him down. As this went on during the day, everybody from the familia, which there's at least 15 people from the familia that I'm seeing from a chart that I wrote. 15 people in Freya's familia. If I'm saying it wrong, probably 23 or 15. Bell fought all 23 of them and still won. As Freya then said, "Well, everybody, now you know that you are no match for Bell." As Bell then said, "I didn't use my full power, so I don't know if that's really true that they're no match for me." As out of nowhere, as out of nowhere, everyone looked at Bell and said, "Wait, you were not using your full power?" As Bell then said, "No. Why would I use my full power on normal beings that did nothing to me?" Then out of nowhere, everyone said, "Oh, we have no chance against this kid." As Bell said, "Nope." Then they all looked at Bell and said, "You did not have to be that rude." As Bell said, "Oh, you think I care? I am going to be really rude to you guys until I prove you guys that you guys are no match for me." And I know some of you guys still think that you're more powerful than me, but keep on dreaming. Yes, I'm making Bell a small tiny amount of cockiness. I'm gonna make him have a small tiny amount of cockiness because I know Virgil's not that cocky, and I'm gonna make him have a lot of confidence in his powers. But then Bell said, "Okay, can I please now get the hell out of here? Or can I go work with Mamma Mia?" As Freya then said, "You can go work with Mamma Mia if you want to." As Bell looked at her and said, "Okay." As he then snapped, and his armor went away, and he was back in his normal clothing. As everyone looked at him and said, What the hell did you just do?" As Bell said, Nothing really interesting. I just summon armor and summon it back out whenever I want to." As everyone looked at Bell and said, "Oh, fuck, this kid is strong." As Bell then looked at all of them and said, "You know it," as his eyes glowed blue with a slash on it, showing that he is different from everyone. As everybody asked, "What the hell was that we just see?" Uh, as Godfrey said, "If he didn't tell you, why would I?" As they all said, "Stay quiet." Bell then went to work with Mamma Mia, and the day went on normally. As we get to this is the day in the anime where Bell would meet Ainz, but this time it's different. This is Bell's first day back as an adventurer. As Bell walked in, and he was getting stared at by everybody because nobody knew there was a new adventurer in the town. As Bell's new as Bell News knew what the heck do they call those people that the ones that are your aides for adventuring, I believe. I'll look into that right now, but not at this very moment. So I'm sorry about that, guys. As Bell new person to tell him if he could do this or not was the one that was under the command of Freya, which was his old one that was with him when he was with Hestia. Freya registered Bell as one of her members for her familia a long time ago. Yeah, this is like the next day. Freya did this last night, the day before. As Belle went into the dungeon, he saw, floor 1, floor 2, floor 3. Okay, devil trigger. As out of nowhere, Belle turned into a demon and just boom, flew through all of the floors. And under an hour, Belle finished floor 1, floor 2, floor 3. As this was the floor where he would then get attacked by a freaking he would then get attacked by a minotaur. As the minotaur was the one that the Loki familia let go of. That was not meant to be on floor 3. It was meant to be on floor 5 or floor 4. As Belle then said, "Oh my God." As Belle went back to his normal form after an hour, he needs to learn how to control that double form of his because he only has an hour on it. As Belle said, an hour is not enough. I need to train him more. Then Belle saw the Minotaur. The Minotaur went straight at Belle with his horns pointed down and pointing ahead. As Belle summoned Yamato and covered himself from being attacked by the horns of the Minotaur. As Belle then said, "I'm semi-immortal." No, fudge this. What am I supposed to do with this? In his head, he was complaining, I'm semi-immortal. Why am I blocking this attack? I should have just let it spike me." As Belen said, frick this Minotaur. As he then stopped protecting himself and swung his blade up and down. He was holding one of the horns of the Minotaur as he swung this blade up and swung it back down, cutting the head of the Minotaur off. As he said, "Wow. Come on. It got my clothing dirty. Frick this animal." As he then kicked the Minotaur's head back to the body, as he said, "I hate these dungeons sometimes. But maybe I got to a higher level." As Belden said, "I don't feel any stronger." Maybe that's the reason why Freya said I should just fight more in the dungeons. As then Belle suddenly got a memory from Virgil. As Virgil then looked at him and just nodded up and down, saying, "Yes." Then out of nowhere, Belle wondered, "What the hell did I just see?" As Belle then said, I thought he fused with me." As out of nowhere, Belle realized that Virgil is only there when he needs to. And to fix something before I continue, Virgil is not semi-immortal. He is fully immortal. So I needed to fix it. He is fully immortal. As then Belle said, "Maybe that memory just caught up with me because of how tired I am." As he started yawning, and he got out of the dungeon. But when he did, there was a girl with gold hair and blue eyes who appeared, and yellow eyes, not blue eyes. This is Ainz Wallenstein, who looked at Belle and said, "Did you do that?" As Belle said, "Huh? The head? Oh, yeah, you can have it." As Belle went back up through the dungeon. So the people that were making fun of Belle for running out from being protected from the Minotaur by Ainz are now looking at him like, "What the hell is he?" As I wonder, as the guy from the anime that made fun of Belle, yelled at him and said, "What are you?" As Belle said, As then Belle looked at him and said, "I am." So then Belle said, "I am a god." As he then disappeared with his speed. Then then out of nowhere he was like, "Huh? A god that is in the human realms?" As Belle then said, Belle didn't get to answer them because he already disappeared. Then out of nowhere, everyone looked at Belle and was like, "This human or whatever he is." And this was all the gods in the god realm that couldn't come down looking at him. And then one guy was just laughing as he said, "This is gonna be an interesting year." So this is where I'm gonna be leaving it off. Thank you guys for watching. This is Phantom Duels here, and I'll be posting another what if later at night since this what if is way too short for my own liking. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. This is Phantom Duels here, and goodbye.